Well, there is no clear winner. I think we need to get used to the fact that no single party can govern Tshwane. And in that situation, there has to be negotiations, there has to be coalitions. In whatever configuration that you can get there, it is not going to happen. We have a precedent. Remember Cape Town, the ANC was once a leading party in terms of votes and percentage. But the DA, when they first took over Cape Town, they went into an alliance with the ID, and the majority party was left out in the opposition benches. So in the case of Tshwane, clearly the voters have said that there are four parties, and those parties have to come to an agreement on how that council is going to be run.
In the 2011 municipal polls, the ANC had around 55% of support in Tshwane, and now it's dropped to 41.2%. I mean, does it mean that voters do not trust the ANC anymore to govern the city of Tshwane?
Well, it's a matter that we as the ANC have to go back and find out. We managed in our strongholds in the townships, we managed to retain the wards. But the majorities are not that big. So we have to analyze and find out exactly what went wrong. But it's too early to speculate about what the reasons are.
You know, some would say that it was quite clear that the ANC was at fault by, selecting Thoko Didiza as the mayoral candidate for Tshwane. That was one of the things people were protesting about. Do you believe that it was one of the reasons you didn't win an outright majority this time around?
If you go into the voting booth, on the ballot paper, it was the ANC. It was a party that was contesting election, not individuals. It is important to factor that in as we move forward. But we will analyze, we will go to the voters, we will go to our members and find out exactly what happened. Why is it that we could not mobilize a large number of voters to come out? If you look at the suburban votes where the DA is strong, I mean, everybody came out. The queues were very, very long. There was a strong determination from the opposition wards. And we have to find out exactly what happened. But the bottom line is that there is no clear winner. The DA cannot claim that they've won Tshwane. They haven't won Tshwane. They can't govern, including the Nelson Mandela Bay, by the way. They still need to negotiate. If you can't negotiate, like what happened in Cape Town before, you can have a majority percentage, but opposition parties can come together and completely outlast you, and you might not govern.
What do you say to people who are obviously going to say you're spinning? The fact is, yes, Thoko Didiza was a controversial leader, and she might be the reason you might have not gotten so much support or won an outright majority. People are obviously going to say that this was a big deal. And whether the ANC wants to say it was the ANC that people were voting for, the reality is you made a big deal about the mayoral candidates, and people knew who they were.
Well, what I'm saying is that the ANC is going to go into its own internal structures and make an analysis. There will be all kinds of speculation, regarding the outcome of Tshwane, regarding the outcome of Johannesburg, regarding the outcome of Ekurhuleni and everywhere else. The bottom line is that it was the ANC that was on the ballot. If you take the same logic, does it apply in Johannesburg? Of course, it doesn't apply in Johannesburg. There is something that we need to look at. There is a message out there that is very, very clear to us as the ANC that the voters are telling us, and we need to listen carefully to what it is. To simply speculate about this or that at this stage is not going to be helpful for us.
Was the ANC arrogant with this election? Was the ANC too confident that it was going to win and not, done enough to convince voters?
I mean, that's a judgment call, and we were very, very humble. We went to our communities. We went door to door. We put on the agenda our achievement as the ANC in local government. But the bottom line is that, opposition parties fought a national campaign. They were not talking about bread and butter issues. They were talking about national issues. But that is really tactics that they used, it did not really bear fruit for them to win outright. We might have had a reduced majorities in many of these councils. But, at the end of the day, speculations are not going to be helpful at this stage. We have to go back to the drawing board. We have to find out exactly what led us to drop the way that we have dropped, and we'll rectify whatever situation. But it is not the end of the road for the ANC. We are humbled by the fact that people came out in the cold to go and vote for us. We are still there in council, and will still make a contribution towards improving the lives of our people. Many of the problems that we might be having, that voters are having with us, will obviously have to go into corrective mode in order to deal with those problems.
How do you feel about coalitions? Of course, you still have a chance to govern Tshwane, given that you have 41.2% of the vote. Would you consider speaking to the EFF, who's come in at 11.7%? Well,
look, the coalitions are not new at local government level. Coalitions are not new in our politics. The government of national unity was a coalition. Even now, as we speak, there are opposition members in national government. So it is a test of how parties are going to negotiate and put the interests of voters or of residents first. So it is going to be a challenging a few days. We still have an opportunity. I think in most councils by the 15th, there should be a new government. So on that day, when councils are sitting, we are hoping that there will be an agreement by political parties on the way forward. We will, of course, engage in discussions in good faith and put the interests of our people at heart, because the mandate is very, very clear. Every party that has been voted in has been voted in by voters. There are mandates there. Hung councils are hung councils, and political parties have to agree among themselves how to govern going forward. So
you are open to talks with the EFF then?
We are in discussions for all parties. Parties are talking to each other behind the scenes. We will disclose at the right time, who are talking to and the outcome of those negotiations.
Let me ask you this then. How does the ANC possibly go into a coalition with a party like the EFF that's been so blatant in its political rhetoric regarding its discontent with the ANC? Julius Malema has gone out of his way to insult President Jacob Zuma, calling the party even a corrupt, calling the ANC murderers because of Marikana. How then do you actually work with someone like Julius Malema?
You see, it's not going to help for you to speculate, and it's not going to help for you for me to start talking about what other parties are standing for. All what I'm saying is this: is that the various political parties in all these councils, they are not like the same. Like in Tshwane, we were talking about 4 parties in the main. They will have to sit down. They might be ideologically opposed to each other. There might be miles apart, but negotiations are negotiations about it's a question of give and take. You don't negotiate with your friend, you negotiate with people that you want a deal to be struck. We have had the most difficult negotiations in South Africa between the apartheid regime and ourselves as a liberation movement. Today we have a working country, a country that functions, a democracy that is maturing. So I believe that there will be maturity in all the negotiations, because at the end of the day, those councils must function. There has to be a working council. The people will still expect refuse removals to be removed. They will still expect water, basic services must still be delivered. And I think all political parties will put the interests of people first and ensure that there is a functioning government at the end of the day in Tshwane and elsewhere where there are hung councils.
All right, and then just with regards to the ANC celebration parties, we're not seeing much of that happen compared to previous elections. Any reason you're waiting?
What do you mean waiting? Okay, let me put it this way. If you look, because you're talking about Tshwane, right? If you look at Gauteng as a whole, there is a lot that we need to thank our people for. We have a mandate to continue to govern without other political parties in Sidibeng, in the West Rand districts, and also in Mfuleni and many the locals, Mohali and then Rand West. Those are and Mirafo. So it is not all glue. Our people have voted for the ANC in Gauteng overall. It is the metros that are a tough challenge, but we are up there as participants, and will definitely be part of the solution going forward.
All right, just one final question for you. I'm looking at this graphic on the IEC's website. It says DA 43.11%, ANC 41.22%. How do you feel looking at that yourself?
Well, I mean, I speak for the party. You can't ask about my personal feelings.
How does the party feel?
I haven't mentioned the feeling of the party. But the bottom line is that we are humble in the way that, our people came out to support us, to continue to say, you are part of a solution going forward, and we are not going to disappoint them. The ANC is an organization of the people, and we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll have a look at the things that we are doing, correct the wrongs, and build on the strength that we have. Because clearly, there is a whole lot of people out there that have confidence in the ANC overall, but of course, even in specific councils, they still have confidence that the ANC represent their interests and their views in local government. So that is basically the message for now. But we're going to go into that in-house introspection and make corrective take corrective steps where necessary.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. There was spokesperson for the ANC in Gauteng, Nkenke Kekana.